the thing about from Melbourne to Madrid is that people from all around the world can watch it. I've been looking at our analytics, Lewis, and we're getting people from all over the world watching from Melbourne to Madrid. I'm talking the UK, I'm talking America, I think even India one as well. So I might be wrong, but I think UK and America was right up there. So we're getting a lot. We're talking about the topics people want to hear about. We're talking football. We're talking the EPL. But Wayne Rooney, he's in the news for all the wrong reasons. He drink driving, I believe, kind of sends the wrong message a little bit to Everton, doesn't it, Lewis?
Just a bit. But
just a bit.
Well, then he's gonna. So the trial is the day after he goes over to Old Trafford to play. So that makes it even, more of a, I don't know, interesting story. But a lot of footballers have done that in the past. To be honest, it's just a shame that maybe it's Wayne Rooney that has done it. You know, you wouldn't think of him as a person that would do that. You know what I mean? But like I said, I think a lot of footballers have done it as well, and more will do it. So a bit surprising, but at the same time, not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a problem exclusive to footballers. It's it can happen in the general public, but because of Wayne Rooney's stature as a high class football player. He's in the tabloids almost daily, it seems, or especially now. He's like, drink driving charge, and from a football perspective, that's an important thing. Is it going to have an effect on the team? And to some extent, you think it would. I mean, Wayne Rooney is a player that, he was a former England national captain and the former Manchester United captain. So you want him to influence the Everton players, particularly the younger ones, in a positive way. He started off the season well. He scored 2 goals in 3 games, I believe. So the last thing you want is for Wayne Rooney's form to drop as a result of this drink driving charge. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how it plays out, particularly with the visit to Old Trafford coming up. That could cause a few issues.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's going to be maybe a distraction. I don't think he'll get a huge punishment in terms of missing out on games because Everton need him. They'll probably just give him a wake up call. Might get fined, but with the contracts and the money they get nowadays, I always think they don't learn from their fines because they just get so much money. But I don't know. I don't think it'll develop into much more than just a fine. You know what I mean?
In football, like sometimes you get players who drink drive and they miss a game. And by football, so for those overseas viewers, because we do have quite a few overseas as opposed to Australia.
Which football are you talking about?
Which one do you choose? So the American audience thinks we're talking about the NFL, and then like UK soccer. So AFL. Okay, so by football, in this case, I'm referring to AFL. So Australian Football League. It's vastly different to soccer or football with the round ball. It's oval shaped. Not that I have to explain the technicalities of the sport, but in a similar instance, you might have a player actually miss a few games because of a drink driving situation.
It could happen. Look, it could happen, but it looks like it's going to be Everton's decision. You know what I mean? If it was the Football Association, English Football Association, that was to make the call, then more likely he would get a ban. But from Everton, it's not to their benefit to ban a player of Wayne Rooney because he's one of their best players. So I don't think he'll get a ban from the club. That's my view.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, the manager, I've been reading, he's quite a strict manager though, so you never know.
I was about to say, so it could happen, but I think for his own sake, I think he wants to play.
Yeah, it's really important to have your best players.
Into what likely he.
All right, Lewis, are you there? Okay, I think we're just having a few technical difficulties. Coming from Madrid and coming from Melbourne, the distance can cause havoc to the connection sometimes. Um, hopefully we'll get Lewis on the line soon. So yeah, as Lewis was saying, um, like Manchester United game coming up for Wayne Rooney, so we'll have to see how the impact goes there. Because facing your old club after something, well, after a little bit of turmoil or a little bit of adversity, it can motivate players or it can demotivate players, and we'll just have to see what happens there. Okay. Rooney's a big time game player, right? I mean, he's one of these personalities that steps up um, on the big stage. Yeah, so we'll just have to see what happens in that game. All right, so Lewis is telling me he's still on the Google Hangout. All right, Lewis, can you hear me?
We recovered.
All right, we recovered. All right, sweet. I think it must be just the distance, man.
We should mention that on the description of the show until we figure out a way.
Yeah, you
But
know
it does
what?
happen.
Yeah, you know what? The best, like, because once we get this, because we've been talking about, possibly doing it, a regular thing in the future, maybe like once a week or something on a specific day, whatever. Maybe we can have a look at certain ways, other methods as opposed to Google Hangout, and see what we can do there. But for the meantime, I think this will have to do.
Mhm. No, I stopped it in we stopped it in the manager, and he's strict as you said. So I just don't think he'll make Rooney sit for a game. It's just it doesn't benefit them. Just like with Ross Barkley. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's because with you have like strict managers, right, and you have lenient
Ronald
managers.
Koeman. And then there's Ronald Koeman.
Yeah,
No, he's
so
you know why though? He's the highest goal scoring defender ever. Um, he played quite a few years for Barcelona, so he got a lot of goals there. Um, played over in the Dutch league and scored a lot of goals there as well. So I mean, he's got like a legitimate opinion to. He's not just any manager. Like he's only a rookie to be fair. Like he got into management what 4 or 5 years ago, but because he's achieved so much as a player, that's why you shouldn't behave the way some players do at times.
yeah, no, it's interesting about his history. I didn't really quite know of him as a player, but you can have managers that kind of walk in who are not necessarily like great players when they actually played the game as opposed to managing it, but and yet they still become great managers. So the prime example would be Jose Mourinho.
Yeah. No, there are many examples out there, right? But I think it helps if you've been a really good player when you start your managerial career, and that's why Ronald Koeman is kind of the way he is because he was that good as a player that he feels like he's got the right to say some things at times, which might not sound pretty, but it's what he feels.
Yeah, sometimes it's just about screwing public opinion, isn't it? And just doing what you feel is best. I mean, you look at Sir Alex Ferguson and how he set up Manchester United. He was a real disciplinarian, but the culture was always on winning. Granted, the money, the influx of money helped him to get the right players, but at the end of the day, you have to develop potential well to maximize um, the squad, the playing ability of the squad, and I think Sir Alex Ferguson was able to do that probably better than most. Really, I mean, he saw potential and he developed it. You know what I mean? And um, this is such a key quality, and especially in Everton now because they've got some really young players. Holgate is one there.
The
Barkley, there's still
goalkeeper,
yes,
Pickford.
yes.
Yeah.
See, Pickford
No, I
came
just
from
Sunderland. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I see every club going forward. Um, honestly, from the top seven, because I'm gonna put Everton into the mix. I sort of always have, even though they've struggled to go past sixth place. We know who the other top six clubs are, but I see them going forward. Um, all seven of them except Arsenal, of course, and we've already spoken about this. But for Everton, they have so much youth, and I mean, and then add the signing of Rooney is going to putting the drink driving issue aside on the pitch. I mean, who can you learn better from? To be honest, so they can only get better, I think.
How did what transfer fee did Everton have to pay for Rooney? Wasn't it a free one?
Um, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was free. Um, I mean, I'm not exactly sure, right? But it wasn't a lot of money if they had to pay. I'm pretty confident of that. And if it was free, I wouldn't be surprised either because Mourinho didn't want him um,
Mm.
anymore, and he wasn't going to renew his contract. If he wasn't going to get playing time. So, or maybe you can look into it now. But either way, Everton have spent. You know, they've made kind of a statement. I think they've been the third or fourth highest spending club of the 20, and
Wow.
you wouldn't associate them with that. I mean, this summer they've gone all guns blazing compared to previous years. I mean, kind of makes sense in a way because they sold Lukaku for 80 million, so in a way it makes sense. But uh, no, I mean it was always. I think if Rooney was ever going to leave United, it would be to Everton. So I wasn't surprised about the move. I was maybe surprised that they didn't want him any longer at United, but the actual move, like from which club to another, I'm not surprised at all.
Well, yeah, because it's his boyhood club, isn't it? It's where everything began, and
Yeah,
looks like where everything will end as well. I mean, it's kind of he's had the perfect career. I mean, any football player would love to be Wayne Rooney. I mean, he's a legend. I remember him in when he was really young, like at Manchester with Wayne Rooney, Carlos Tevez, um, and they formed a formidable trio. And Ronaldo and Rooney just had this real, chemistry. But then again, you can argue Ronaldo forms a great chemistry with anyone because he's just that good. But one of the knocks on Rooney is that over the years he's gotten a little bit more slower. So didn't show that explosiveness he once showed as a junior or as a young player rather. And he's kind of slowed down a little bit. I noticed that. I like, his passing ability has always been, in my opinion, a little bit underrated. Sure, you look at him at his goals, but he's a good passer of the ball. But yeah, no, it's interesting that, interesting but not surprising that he went to Everton. I mean, who else could he go to realistically? He goes to another top EPL club like a Manchester City, not a City, but say Chelsea, right? Chelsea were rumored to get him in the past when Jose Mourinho was there.
Yeah, that could
And
have happened, couldn't it?
yeah, but would Rooney make the starting 11 in Chelsea squad now?
Uh, Probably not, but because of Morata's contract. And let me explain. It's like at Real Madrid, there are certain players that are guaranteed starting 11 position in their contract, and we're coming back to player power when it comes to signing contracts nowadays, and a lot of players demand that when they sign their contract. In terms of talent or an experience, everything um, goes in Rooney's favor compared to Morata. Uh, and then Diego Costa looks like he's not going to get any playing time because he hasn't been named in the Champions League squad for Chelsea either, which is, for those who didn't know, maybe they're surprised. But Diego Costa didn't want to stay at Chelsea. Um, I think he wanted to go back to Atletico, but the move didn't happen, or Atletico weren't willing to spend that much for him. But Rooney Morata comparison, look, if Morata got injured, Rooney would be the starting player. I think. For me, it would definitely be. But yeah, if the only downside to him is obviously his speed, as you said. But he's just too experienced and too talented to. That's why he's a starting player at Everton, because he's still that good. So Chelsea is maybe a level ahead, but again, I think watch out for Everton because I think they are. I sort of knew they were gonna come strong at some stage, but because they sold Lukaku, a lot of people were thinking, oh, now they're going to get worse. But they've spent so well on young players that, and with that manager, they can only get better.
That's exactly right. I mean, I've really liked Everton's progression. Yeah, with their young players and having a player of Rooney's caliber, of his experience, someone's experience like in Champions League football, Premier League, top flight, competing year after year for the title. Having someone like that is invaluable to their squad. And you just that's why I mentioned like the drink driving incident. Like that's the last thing you want from a player that not just Everton players idolize, but English kids growing up want to be like Wayne Rooney. He's England's
Yeah,
top
no,
goal scorer. He's retired from national football though. Um, so that was interesting there. Do you think Rooney made the right decision to retire from national football, despite being? I think he's in his early 30s. All right, so just having a few technical difficulties. We shall be with you shortly. We're just discussing, Manchester United, not Manchester United, rather Everton and their progress. Have they made good progress? Let us know on YouTube. And It's a pity that these dropouts happen because I wonder how we can get less of that. But when you're in different countries, this sort of thing happens. Hopefully, we can get Lewis back on. I'm hopeful. He's still on the Hangout, so it's just a matter of connecting him back in. So just give us about 30 seconds. All right, Lewis, you're back on, man. All right, cool.
Let's just keep going. I thought it was a 50-50 decision, right? Because he was the captain. He's experienced. He's gone to so many tournaments, right? Few Euros, few World Cups, and the World Cup is next year. So I thought he would have wanted to play, give it one more shot. But at the same time, there are young players coming through, and Harry Kane, the Ox, all these guys, and it was probably maybe he thought that they would surpass him earlier than maybe we expected, right? Maybe we expected Rooney to be the leading man until the next World Cup at least. But I mean, some of these players, right? Harry Kane, for instance, he's already got 10 goals, I think, 10, 11 goals. And I mean, if he plays for these many years for the national team, he could surpass Wayne Rooney's record. And that's just the way it is.
Wouldn't that be incredible if, because Wayne Rooney's got a phenomenal record, man.
Yeah, he's got 53 goals in like 100 and not many appearances, so one every two. But Harry Kane is more of a pure striker than Rooney, so we should take that into account. But they call him the Hurricane for a reason. No,
That's very interesting.
He started off well.
Yeah, shout out to we have one viewer, Lewis. I don't know if you can see that. So that means that this viewer is watching us live at this.
Shout out to the viewer, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the viewer. It's back down to 0.
Why did we even talk?
Yeah, we love the viewership from you guys. So thanks once again. Yeah, the Hurricane. I mean, that is Harry Kane, isn't it? Because he's explosive. He's skillful despite being over 6 foot tall. And he's the mold of a striker. He's, like you said, it's a bit different to Wayne Rooney being 5'9". So he's about my height, which is about medium size, not tall, not short. Whereas Harry Kane's tall. I think he's like an inch below Lukaku, to give a comparison. So
that's not far off.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. If Harry Kane does end up breaking Wayne Rooney's England top scoring record. I mean, records are made to be broken, right? Like it's just part of evolution. Yeah. So Harry Kane is definitely one England player that can do that, and we'll see where that goes. Have you seen the FIFA 18 player ratings, Lewis, that have been released recently?
Mate, I have. I'm not going to remember all of them, but I can point out, what was it? They've released from 100 till 61. I think they've already released 40 players.
Yeah, I think they've gone to 60.
Yeah, maybe look it up and
we can debate some ratings. Yeah.
I remember a few ones that stood out or surprised me a bit. Although there's kind of a reasoning behind it, and what I mean is players like Varane, um, Asensio. Those are kind of the first few that come up to my mind. But just young players in general, they've probably been a bit underrated for some of people's liking. Um, I'd say that's due just to consistency and doing what more experienced players have done for many years. Varane, okay, he's been around for a while now. Maybe he should be higher than 85. I'm pretty sure that's what he got. Asensio, it's too early to sort of rate him any higher. Although he's so explosive, I understand why some people might want him to be higher. Uh, and then on the other hand, some experienced players just haven't lived up, in my opinion, to their ratings. Peter Cech, for instance, 86. I mean, he used to be a hell of a goalkeeper, but for Arsenal, he's bottled it quite a few times, and those are just facts. Vertonghen, yeah, he's turned into a good centre back, but again, I mean, I wouldn't say he's still very experienced, right? He's like in his prime. Azpilicueta is a centre back now, and that kind of surprised me a little bit because he's more of a wing back from my point of view. I mean, he doesn't go uh, as high up the pitch as a proper fullback like Jordi Alba, but and that's more down to the fact that they always play him on the left side because he's right-footed player. But if you put him on the right side, he would go up that flank. So I don't know. There's always debate in FIFA when it comes to. I mean, then again, they're always going to make changes as the season progresses, aren't they?
Oh, for sure, man.
So that's just the beginning. But have you got maybe the player? I can't remember all 40 of them.
No, that's fine. So I'm not sure how many they've exactly released, but I've got some here. So I've got the top 60 to 41 players. I can actually. Yeah, how about I copy and paste the link and send it to your Facebook chat, and so we can be on the same page.
Oh, you can just read them out. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
That's all right. I've also sent it on your messenger as well. So I've got, okay. So there's a few interesting ones. James Rodriguez from Bayern Munich. He is 86. That's about right, isn't it?
Maybe a bit underrated. Because I mean, in Madrid, what was he?
I think he was 87, was he not?
Yeah, I mean, or he was close to 90 at one stage. But again, that's down to form. So I sort of understand it's the beginning of the season. Yeah, maybe it's kind of right.
Yeah. There's some other ones here. Romelu Lukaku, 86. That's definitely fair, in my opinion. Karim Benzema, I think he stayed the same.
I guess what would the physicality of Lukaku be? Sorry about that. It's got to be like 90.
I was having a look at because he's such a physical specimen, isn't he? Like he's such a hybrid striker. He's one which has real pace, but he's got so much strength. Isco, 86. I mean, Isco's been doing well.
Yeah, 86 Isco. Man. See, this is what I mean. Like, Isco has been in so much better form than James, for instance, right? So he should be higher. But again, I think they're kind of like their default ratings. They will improve on. But Isco has been doing really well to get 86 only, to be fair.
Alexandro from Juventus, 86 for a defender. That's interesting. Although I don't follow Juventus too much in particular, so maybe he's another position. I'm not too sure.
No, it's probably fair.
Yeah. Probably. So the Barcelona midfield pair, Andres Iniesta, Ivan Rakitic, 87 each.
Yeah, no. I mean, Rakitic is more defensive than Isco, but I mean, how can he be rated higher than him? I just don't see it. But anyway.
So who do you think should be rated higher than the other?
Oh, Isco higher than Rakitic. Most people would agree. I mean, he's just more of a game-changing player. Isco, and he's improved his shooting as well. Now that while I'm at it, went to the Spain-Italy game and Isco scored 2 goals. One of them was a free kick, so he's improved. He's just a better player than last year, Isco. So that rating, I'm not sure who was in charge of that, but he needs to watch Isco more often.
But like, in fairness though, like, I mean, you brought up, the idea of how they rate. I mean, to be honest, they do a very good job, don't they? Like, overall, they do a really good job of getting the ratings right, in my opinion. We have to remember that there's so many different players from different clubs that it can be hard to keep track of everyone, including the top players. But I think, bar, some, few pointers, for the majority, if they don't get it right, they might be 1 or 2 points off. But
no, yeah,
look, I've never,
I know.
yeah.
No, I know. It's just it's kind of like, at the end of the day, they do, I would think, take into account our feedback. So we have to give it to them.
Yeah, it is a democracy, isn't it?
The only way that you sort of justify Isco's rating is that there are arguably better players than him in that position, or more competition. Because in terms of defensive midfielders, I think there is a lack of top defensive midfielders at the moment. I mean, like, there's no one player that stands out. Like, for instance, maybe a few years ago, people would say, "Oh, well, I want Makelele in my team. I want Alex Song in my team. I want Thiago Motta in his prime." The word defensive player, I want Yaya Toure, although he turned more to an attacking midfielder, but at first he was a good defensive midfielder. So maybe because Rakitic has got less competition there, he's rated higher. Another sort of factor you can take into account.
Yeah. So how do you reckon they sort out the ratings here? Because it's not just one large number fits all, right? I mean, there's different categories. We were mentioning Lukaku, so not only is he a physical beast, but he's got pace. So they put all these numbers into the system, and then it spurts out, an overall. And I mean, like, you can't do like a beep test, or, well, not that you need a beep test, but like you can't like get a VO2 max test for every single player and work out their stamina from there. So it's about what you see, and
mostly, yeah. But let me point out, for instance, they do days, like, each player. So for Lukaku, I tell you what brings Lukaku's score down is his passing. He's never been that great of a passer, and that sort of lets him down a bit, because, I mean, if he passed the ball well enough, right, he could play the 1-2s, and if he gives a good pass to an attacking midfielder and then they can give it back to him, he would be open for goal. Because and this happens in games. He passes it to a teammate and it's a poor pass, and then he makes the run, but because he gave a poor pass, he's not going to get it back. So that probably brings his score down a bit. But I mean, in every other aspect of his game, he just about ticks the boxes. Because he's got such huge pace for
Well, one person I think of when you say pace is Aubameyang, right? I mean, he's got serious pace for a big guy. Um,
Yeah,
but in
as well,
terms of
but Lukaku
yeah,
weighs a lot more. You know what I mean? So that's
I was
why
just
for
about to
me,
mention that. Yeah,
that's why for me, Lukaku, it's impressive how much pace he's got for what he is. But Aubameyang is another one. His passing would be higher. His rating as well, I would think. Um, who would be higher than Ronaldo
so
or
yeah, I haven't got Ronaldo's rating here, but
no? It hasn't come out yet. That's why you know. I would think since I think a few FIFA games ago, so a few years ago, Messi stopped being the ambassador because remember how he used to be on the cover like every year, and another player alongside him, whether it was Bale or Hazard, whatever, Royce. Maybe that had an effect on rating Ronaldo higher. I guess the fact that he's won the Champions League now for the past few years as well helps him. I think Ronaldo will be higher again. Not sure if their will be boosted, as in like close to 99. I mean that's just about impossible. But I don't know. I don't know. In the low 90s. I mean, I'm tipping Ronaldo to have the
yeah,
higher rating.
yeah. I mean, so in FIFA 17, Ronaldo had the higher rating than Lionel Messi, right? Well, at least as it stands, I think he had the higher rating. Please correct me if anyone objects, but you mentioned a good point. Ronaldo is like on the cover of like FIFA 18, right? So,
Is it? Well,
uh,
that. Yeah. Well, I've noticed one thing now, which is they release different covers for the same game. But yeah, I just think he'll most likely be the highest rated player, just because he's won the trophies.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the favorite for the Ballon d'Or, um, without a doubt. It's interesting. It comes back to this, Messi and Ronaldo debate. Like, I mean, everyone discusses it, everyone debates it, but
I brought it up. I don't even know how, but I brought it up for the FIFA game. but
yeah,
I'm not a fan. Yeah, I've already sort of given my opinion on this. But I always have the odd friend or two who say, "Well, but when you build your team, you have to start by one player." You know what I mean? And whether that's a centre back, whether it's whoever, you're gonna start with the one player you like the most. And arguably, most people would think, between them two, which one would I pick first? Like whether no debate, I'll just put him straight into my team. But they're just different positions. That's my opinion. Like I would have both in my team. I'm sure a lot of people
Mm.
would, but maybe this year will be different because Madrid sold Morata. Maybe Ronaldo will be more of a centre forward, a striker this year, and Messi plays in that position. So maybe this year you can make more of a comparison because previous years they were comparing sort of the amount of goals that each player scored, but they play in different positions. Ronaldo gets to attack from left to the goal, which is far more predictable. You know what I mean? I mean, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to stop him, but he's always gonna make the move inside and shoot with his right foot. While Messi, he had like freedom of movement. He could do whatever he wanted. So that's why it's not a fair
yeah,
comparison.
yeah. No, that's a really good example, man. Because yeah, they're different positions, different players, and particularly the positions though, because Ronaldo has a right footer, and that's another thing as well. Ronaldo has a right footer, Messi left footer, and Ronaldo, yeah, cutting in from the left, it can be a little predictable. Whereas Lionel Messi has that scope to do what he wants a little bit, to do as he pleases. But When you're dealing with these high caliber of players, very few things separate them. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it can be, the actual team performance. So like with the likes of Bale supporting Ronaldo, uh, and the depth we've spoken of Real Madrid's depth. I mean, it keeps Ronaldo on his toes, keeps him supported with assists and stuff. So yeah, you never know as the years go on, but we'll just have to see. I mean, goals aren't everything, so it is something if it's a bit of a wide margin. If you're working out, okay, who's the best player in the world, but we'll just have to see. I mean, look, Neymar. I mean, Neymar might be up there with like with PSG. Got Mbappe as well. And we'll just have to see how that partnership goes.
Mm. Yeah, no, I mean
So
that's going to be lethal, but they're going to be kind of like wingers, I would think, unless are they both going to just do whatever they want? Because I think they lack a striker, in my opinion. Um, or whether they play a 4-4-2. Yeah, I mean PSG, they're not the finished article by any means. They've obviously made huge steps, but I don't know. I don't know how they're going to set up yet, especially.
yeah, they're definitely not the finished article. I think that's a perfect way to put it because you buy all these players, but you need to build the chemistry. Like Angel Di Maria, right? Real Madrid to Manchester United. He came into the EPL, didn't quite acclimatize to the conditions of EPL, like the pace of it. And but then again, Louis van Gaal. I mean, not everyone was in favor of his system, so there's always these circumstances that you have to take into effect. Goes to PSG. Competition is less in the French league. Does really well, and so yeah. I mean, so you've got up front Angel Di Maria. You've got Lucas vying for a spot. You've got Mbappe. You've got Neymar. Cavani as the striker.
Yeah, of course. I didn't take into account Cavani, but I just see Neymar given the striker position. I don't know why. I just sense he's signed. Honestly, the most um, the most like ludicrous contract in terms of I get whatever I want. And Neymar has always wanted to score more goals. Um, I don't know. I don't know because Cavani has lost pace. He's still good, um, but you compare him to both Mbappe and Neymar, right? And he's outpaced like any day of the week. So for me, they're just not. I think they don't want to give too much away for the Champions League, right? They're setting up, I think, as you said, with Cavani up front and both of them on the wings. But I just think for the Champions League, um, that might be too predictable. I don't know. Like it might if they went to 4-4-2, that would be counter-attacking at its best because you can't get two quicker players up there, to be honest, than Neymar and Mbappe. But with Cavani, I think Cavani slows them down a little bit. They will be forced to get more crosses in. And when you play against your United, your Real Madrid, you're not going to beat them by crosses with their centre backs.
No. Mm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
He's an aerial threat, isn't he, Cavani? Like that's the thing about him.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I think if you're going to try and beat teams in the air, you probably need more than one aerial threat. And Neymar and Mbappe aren't aerial threats. I mean,
Yes,
they're
yeah.
they're they're absolute beasts at everything else, right? Dribbling, speed, shooting, you name it, but not in the air. So that's why maybe, or if I was PSG, maybe I would do. Honestly, it's like I think it's a similar case with Giroud at Arsenal. They would do Cavani would do better off the bench, I think.
like a super sub almost.
Just give him 30, 35 minutes in the second half. You know,
Yeah, but the thing, even though that might benefit PSG's performance, someone of Cavani's ability may not want to be on the bench. Um, Taking into consideration.
no, no, he won't. But I think if they they will win the.
All right, so just waiting for Luis to come back uh, online.
Oh, we're back again. I was
All
just
good.
saying, like, I don't think PSG will win it this year, right? So for them to win it, they will have to try new things. And for me, going for a 4-4-2 might be the way because it will put like imagine if you were preparing to face PSG, you would set up to defend the front three, right? What if they suddenly went into a 4-4-2? That would just like put you off.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've got to, they can't just build a team around. Well, they can, but like Neymar, Mbappe, because they've got to take the whole team into consideration here. So what do they do with the likes of Verratti? Very aggressive player, good defensive mid. Um, how do they restructure? How do they reframe? Rabio as well as a very good young player. So I'll tell you what, man. Although PSG, I agree, is not the finished article, they're getting near it. Like you can't like the young players are really good. They've got depth on the bench. I mean, we're talking about Cavani, potentially playing on the bench for these type of players. So maybe PSG in the future is one to rival Real Madrid, but I don't know.
No, look, I reckon they are a semi-finals team. Um, I think maybe it's a bit too mature to sort of say they're definitely not better than Bayern Munich. For me, it's between them, PSG, Barcelona, and Juventus for the third place. It's sort of like them three teams are tied for third best team in Europe, as in like offer the for a spot in the semi-finals, and then come the rest for me. But no, yeah, I mean it's going to be down to them how they set up. I just think again, if they set up with Cavani up front, it's a bit maybe more predictable. If they went into a 4-4-2, I would be maybe scared because I've thought of it now, but I don't think a lot of teams have thought of maybe the possibility of that happening because Cavani is not in his young 20s. You know what I mean? So he will go eventually, um, unless they bring in a young striker. But again, like for me, that would be like a lethal partnership, just two up front, them two, with maybe an attacking midfielder behind them. Because Neymar, that's the way he likes to play too. To be fair, I don't think Neymar he'll have to adapt, right? Because he's got Cavani, but he's never really played with a proper striker. You know what I mean? It's not that in Barcelona they would always play with a false nine, and PSG that's not the way. Or maybe they'll have to now because Neymar is there. I mean, who knows what he's signed, right? It's not just the money that they sign. It's it's a lot of factors that we start to find out later on. Um, for instance, like, could you imagine players signing uh, maybe a few decades ago? I want to be well, like, I need to be guaranteed like starting 11. Um, all these bonuses and stuff. No, like this is more recent. Like this is where player power comes into effect more than ever. So a lot of things for us still to find out about Neymar over there.
Yeah, yeah. And as well, like there was a bit of conjecture about the Mbappe deal, like how that went through the fair player. What is it? I don't even.
Financial fair play.
Yeah.
Bollocks. It's bollocks.
Like what happened there? Like, they spend a ridiculous amount of money for Neymar, and then they get Mbappe on a loan, with an option to buy, but I might be mistaken.
No, you're not. You're not. The strange thing for me about this was, yeah, I've already said it. That he's been sold to a direct rival. For Monaco's interest, the best thing would be to just get him out of France, like just send him anywhere but to PSG. And it's happened what I thought they would avoid from happening. They would try to avoid from happening, and that's they've sold it to the direct rival. For me, it's just yeah, I can sort of imagine what Monaco fans would think about that. Maybe they're a bit humble and they've never really. I think last season was a bit of a freak. No, not as freak as Leicester. Obviously, Monaco have more spending power than Leicester, but I just thought Mbappe would go anyway. Um, to PSG. Maybe he didn't want to leave France. Maybe that was a factor that we didn't know about. Or maybe he thinks it's the right move for him for a few years. Because I mean, if you come into Madrid straight away as a what is he, a 19, 20-year old,
Mm.
he would come in for a hefty, very hefty price tag.
How about Donnarumma? I mean, he's staying with AC Milan. There was rumors that he was going to Real.
So many rumors linked with Real Madrid. I'm like, how are we going to fit in all these players? And in the end, none of them have come. Uh, I think just it was a combination of them not wanting to because it's too early for them, and also Real Madrid just yeah, probably thinking what I do, just like we can't fit you all in, and maybe in the near future they will come because Bale. There's a lot of rumors about him. Um, I think he's done what he set out to do, which is to win trophies. He might. I think he wants to win a Premier League. So maybe we might see him at United. It wouldn't surprise me. Or maybe even Tottenham again. Because I mean, they are building a new stadium, Tottenham. So I did say that Premier League clubs were moving forward, and Tottenham is another one of them. They've moved to Wembley for this year, but they will move into their new stadium the season after. So I think Bale will go back to the Premier League. It's between United and Tottenham for me. Because he's achieved everything that he set out to achieve over here, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, he has the ability to achieve even more greatness. I think Real Madrid have reached this stage where, like, they're one of the best teams we've ever seen, and they can really put an exclamation mark on that, by winning more titles. Imagine if they win another UEFA Champions League final. Oh my gosh, that would be incredible. It would be
It's a
mind-blowing.
routine. It's a routine now, isn't it? But no, I just say it because it's not down to him. Um, like you sign a contract, but if a Premier League club comes in with a huge bid for Bale, because they love Bale over in England. That's just the way it is. I mean, uh, the seasons he had at Tottenham before coming over were just unbelievable. He could honestly do what he was like the Messi of Tottenham because he wasn't assigned a specific role, a specific position. He could just do whatever he wanted. He had so much freedom of movement, and I think Mourinho was willing to do that. There was interest from United, although I think Madrid weren't willing to sell. And yeah, probably Bale wants to stay for a bit longer. But I think in the back of his head, he would love to win a Premier League as well. Who
Yeah, I
wouldn't, though?
mean
I
it's
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
it's one of those trophies that you know you have Bale's trophy cabinet, and it's the one thing that's missing, isn't it? That elusive EPL Premier League title. A question though of whether he does return to Spurs or goes to a club like Man United, or he stays at Real Madrid. Um, you know, eh, why would he in my opinion, like why would he like leave Real Madrid? I mean, he's really like it's kind of inevitable, isn't it, that one day
Well,
he'll leave.
he would be sold. That's why. You know what I mean? Like you signed the contract, but honestly, how many contracts um, go down to the wire apart from Arsenal because they have a lot of their players expiring their contracts. That's why they find themselves in Alexis, Ramsey. Just the list goes on of players that are running out their contracts, and clubs don't tend to do that because the earlier you sell them, with the more years on their contract, the bigger the value, right? And Bale has signed till 2021. Imagine next summer a bid comes in, it would still be pretty large, not to turn it down. And also, you have to find room for other players, for Mbappe, for whoever comes in. Because Real Madrid would go after Mbappe sooner or later. I mean, he's just like the dream. Overrated for me a little bit. I'm a huge prospect, but a lot to prove. So we'll see this season. Um, but just so many players are linked with Real Madrid. You have to find room for them. And for me, Bale has ticked all the boxes. And again, I just think he wants a Premier League. I'm pretty sure he wants a Premier. He still loves England. Like, bit of a stupid example here, but James Corden asked him, "What do you prefer, paella or fish and chips?" And he chose fish and chips. It's like, come on, man. Still, so I mean, he loves England still. You know what I mean? So I can see him wanting to win a Premier League. Whether that's United or Tottenham, we'll see. But I would clap him off because he's done everything he set out to achieve. Even more, to be honest. I mean, at first he's like, "I just want a Champions League." Now you've got three all of a sudden. So, no,
Yeah,
good for him.
his trophy cabinet is overfilling with trophies, and like to add an EPL one to that collection must be very tempting.
Hey, you can go over to Messi and say, "You don't have a Premier League trophy, do you?" Because that's the thing. Like, I would love nothing more than to see Messi in the Premier League. It will never happen now. But I wish he had done the move because we would see he's not as dominant as a lot of people say. And I'm confident
Well,
when I
that's
say this.
yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, um, Ronaldo has proven himself in the EPL, in La Liga, and to Messi's defense, he does have that backstory, though, that sentiment of, Barcelona saved his life. So, and by that, like, he had some condition, um, and Barcelona helped him with it and financially. So you kind of repay the loyalty there. Uh, you know, if he did go to EPL, I mean, we don't know. We're just speculating, but it's a different style of game. We saw it with Angel Di Maria, man. He didn't quite adjust to the
Yeah,
EPL.
we saw with a lot of players, didn't don't
Yeah.
we? So, um,
Well, my question to you is, what makes you think Messi wouldn't do as well in the EPL as he does in La Liga?
just the amount of possession that just that I would sum it up to possession. He wouldn't have as much possession as he does here because it's harder to keep the ball. There's a lot more high pressing in the Premier League. Just look at all the look. I bet there's a stat right that sort of tells you the amount of long passes in the Premier League compared to the Spanish league. If you watch the Premier League, the ball sometimes doesn't even go to the middle of the pitch. It just goes long ball from one area to another. And mate, that's a big change. You know, you have to learn how to control the ball, use your chest to bring it down. Um, just different. Not better or worse, just different. And look, he's a great player, and he would find a way to adapt, but it would take his time, wouldn't it? It's not like he would just jump in there. Like a lot of people argue, oh, he can just go into any league and keep up what he's doing. Um, and no, I mean, I'm pretty sure he would he would need time to adapt, like a lot of players. Pogba's first season was nowhere near what people said it would be. Um, well, so many players, man, that just don't adapt in the first season, and then second season comes around and they suddenly are unstoppable. Um, Lukaku finished. He's already been in the league, but when he first arrived as well, sort of, he was very young, but wasn't score like now he's scoring week in week out, man. Like that's like the first time we've really seen Lukaku do that. But that's because he's adapted. You know, it took time for him to adapt, and now he's finally found the way. So same thing would happen to Messi. That's all.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting if he were to go to EPL. Like, who would get him? Like a Man City with the finances. I mean, that's probably the realistic team to go to. Would
You know,
be
Guardiola is there. I mean, it's still a possibility, but I think the only way maybe that would happen is if Barcelona were to really, you know, underachieve, and for him to get really frustrated. But mm, I mean, it's a rumor that's going to be around, right? I think till he retires, because I think a lot of people want to see it happen, or the English especially want to see it happen. They would love nothing more, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure it will happen.
you know
Would
who
love to
I
though.
yeah you know which English player that I see playing for Real Madrid in the future? It's Deli Ali from Spurs. I think he's got the talent, a la David Beckham going to Real. I reckon he can do something similar as his career progresses. He's tall, he's mobile, he's got stamina. He's already, a key staple of the Spurs team. He's one of these players that, Real Madrid, I think, would be interested in the future. But
Yeah, well, they have a good connection with the Tottenham owner, so
well, there you go.
no, it could happen very well. We could get Harry Kane as well. Both of them in one transfer. That would be marvelous.
Send
But
Bale to Spurs and get Dele Alli and Harry Kane in return.
that could very well happen. Like it sounds as a joke, but it could very well because Bale loved Tottenham. It's not like he left because he didn't love that club. It's just he very well said it. When Real Madrid come knocking, I mean, if you turn it down, will they come again?
Yeah.
And so I mean, hats off to him for doing what he did. But I think I think the Premier League is somewhere in his mind because it's just the best. I think he agrees it when he says Spain is the best sort of like league in the world. Look, the Spanish clubs have achieved a lot in recent years in Europe, and they seem to be unstoppable at the moment. But in terms of the league, I just think it doesn't get any more exciting than the Premier League. It's just so unpredictable.
So why hasn't La Liga well, La Liga have the two premier teams, right? Barca and Real, but compared league to league, and the EPL is just more exciting. Why is that?
Just competition. The wealth is sort of more spread between the league. So what Everton, the average money spent uh, in total, right, club by club, was 65 million pounds because they spent 1.4 billion in total this summer, just the Premier League clubs. I mean, if that doesn't sort of, catch your eye a little bit and think, well, these guys, I mean, just the wealth that's in the league allows you to. I mean, I mentioned Swansea in the previous podcast with Renato Sanchez and Wilfred Bony. Swansea,
Mm.
a team you would think before they got those two players, you would have they sold before they got those two players, they sold Sigurdsson. You would think they're going to be in the bottom, near the bottom three. But now with the acquisition of them two players, all of a sudden you think they're a top 10 team, just about, because them two, I think, are going to link up so well.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. It's all about partnerships sometimes. Hey, what did you think about Federer? So Federer's gone from the US Open. My personal opinion is Federer's had a phenomenal season, man. Coming back from injury, and playing the way he has, beating Nadal in the Australian Open, a notorious opponent for him to beat, like as in like he used to get, obviously
Notorious.
Nadal has a better head-to-head record than Federer. Um, and yeah, the notorious Conor McGregor. But no,
I think it's kind of, in a way, good that he lost to Del Potro because he would be so drained against Rafa in the semis, right? For
yeah,
those who
Rafa's
don't know,
just
for those who maybe haven't looked into it, they would meet in the semi-final, not in the final. Rafa and Federer. So Rafa just his match was a stroll. I mean, against Rublev, 19-year-old, is a good upcoming player, but it was down to experience and 3 sets to love. But Del Potro, that went for I think a good 3 hours and 4 sets. I mean that for Federer, yeah, starts to add up, and then you have to add Nadal into the equation and a Grand Slam final if you went through. Um, Look, quarterfinals. I mean, another one. To be fair, I mean, how many quarterfinals has he made? The man. Um, I mean, I wouldn't. And also, I mean, of course, he's had a great year. He took he you know he I guess for French fans it might have been a bit disappointing, but he chose not to compete in Roland Garros to aim at Wimbledon, and it worked out perfectly for him. So I don't know. And Del Potro is just a great story, isn't it? Um, it's not going to be an easy task for Rafa, that's for sure.
no. And Del Potro was one to actually beat Federer in a final at US Open, and because of injuries, Del Potro's been one of these guys that the casual fan has forgotten, but he's reminding people now why he's such a special talent. His
Yeah, he's still
forehand,
like,
yeah,
yeah, his forehand on the. He, he's like a. His forehand in a way is sort of. It's a running forehand. So I kind of as a way different movement, right? But it's like he loves that shot. It's like Rafa loves the running forehand in clay. He loves his running forehand in hardcore. And seen him do that so many times in this tournament. Um, expect a few against Nadal, that's for sure. And yeah, he just looks so. It looks like he never left, to be honest. For me, like he's everything about him is he's so calm after in between points, and then out of nowhere he just serves at 200 plus
mm.
kilometers an hour. He look for me. He looks rejuvenated. It looks like he never left.
I mean that presents an interesting matchup, doesn't it, between Rafa and Del Potro? I mean, Nadal's, coming off that win, as you say, against a 19-year-old, or that young
Yeah,
player, or
Rublev,
yeah, and
Russia.
Del Potro against Federer. Um, in fairness, though, Federer's had a long season, man. I mean, he's not getting any younger. I think he can hang his head very high. I reckon he's done a tremendous job this year. Like, to still compete at a high level after the injury layoff he had. I know Ruff has done it more than a few times, but at Federer's age, have we ever seen that happen before? Like, wow, like what a Federer's one of the best to ever do it.
No, yeah, that's not question at all. And you have to be really confident again to make the decisions like skip a Grand Slam in order to win another one.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That worked out brilliantly for him. So I've always said that maybe Rafa needed to do that um, to maybe avoid some injuries, but he loves to compete, and it just seems like if he sees himself capable of competing any tournament, he's gonna do it. Just different mentalities, different aspirations, I guess.
Yeah, I guess with the Swiss, like they tend to be very calm. The Swiss, it's a generalization, I know, but like, okay, for the generalization's sake, I'm kind of pointing towards Wawrinka and Roger, right? I mean, they're
Yeah,
very kind of calm.
they're calm.
Yeah. Whereas Rafa's got that intensity about him, fan.
Rafa is a bull, mate. Like you either kill him or he'll stand.
Oh, he'll
He's still
rage.
gonna stand. He's still gonna stand up. It's ridiculous. I think it's not even about Grand Slams for them two anymore. It's about who does the craziest shot or who wins the craziest point because they have nothing to prove. I mean, Federer is like the ultimate sort of, you know, uh, his style is just so classy and so sort of perfect, right? But then Nadal is the ultimate warrior, I think anyone has ever seen. He will just run for any ball.
Yeah, he's the kind of player you'd want, you know, in the front of your army, like, leading to battle. Federer's, probably the commander in chief because he's so calm and, sending Nadal out to battle. But just to use a funny analogy, but
I think it's
uh,
hard to believe they played in the US Open though. It's strange. I mean, I assume they will keep on playing because they love the sport more than anything. Um, yeah, I feel sorry for the Americans a bit, right? I mean, you can always watch their rivalry on TV, but to watch it live as well must be quite an experience.
yeah, to watch them, I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, to watch them in the flesh. Have you watched Nadal or Federer play live before?
I've seen Rafa live um, against Gilles Simon, the poor man, the
Mm.
poor French. He did. I mean, the match did go for 3.5, 4 hours, so it wasn't. I got my money's worth. But Nadal Federer is just like the ultimate game to watch because they're two completely different styles. Um, Djokovic, to be fair to him, I would put him in the equation as well because he's a different. I mean, his style is closer to Federer's than to Nadal's, arguably, right? His forehand is what Nadal's forehand is like down up, and Djokovic and Federer's is up down. Like it's completely different. Like it's completely different forehands. But then again, Djokovic slides like Nadal, doesn't he? Sometimes.
Mm.
So I think he's earned the right to sort of add him in there. Them three to watch are just for me. We're so lucky to have been able to watch them all these years.
Yeah,
And
the,
if
the
we can keep on
golden
going for a few more, that'd be
yeah, the
great.
golden era of tennis, in some people's eyes. I mean, what has happened though to Novak? Like, Novak was one of these players that people were going, "Wow!" Like
Well, I mean,
his best tennis was phenomenal, right? And then he's kind of dropped a little bit, And if you drop your level just a little bit, these young guys and these older players who are still playing well, like Federer and Rafa, they just go past you.
Yeah, but you still can't sort of forget the fact that he's still there, right? He's still going to make his quarters and semis.
Yeah.
So tennis is just so cruel that only one player can win. I know in soccer only one team can win, but there are so many players in that team. Tennis is just the team is the player, and it's so cruel, man, because only one can win each time. And Djokovic is injured at the moment, I think, with an elbow or shoulder injury, but I don't think you can count him out just yet because he could pick up his form again. Um, and when he was at his best, I think he's been one of the most dominant sort of
Oh.
runs I've ever seen. Like I've never seen a player so unstoppable.
Oh no, his play was outstanding, hitting the lines like nearly all the time, and just like I reckon his level of play kind of rose a little bit when his serve got a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more crisp, because that was one
Well,
of the
and his
knocks when he
yeah,
was
and
kind
his
of coming up.
yeah, and his volleys as well, and that came from Boris Becker, of
Mm.
course. So he he was one of the scariest players I've ever seen.
I mean, he's
Because
just
he
his
looked like
baseline play. Like he was like the only player really who could really test Rafa on clay and win titles against him on clay. I mean that tells you just how good Djokovic is in as one of the best players of all time.
I mean,
Because
he's got his 12 Grand Slams. He's done his bit. Uh, I think, if anything, for me, I would have loved to have seen him. Right, if he won he's won the French Open, but if he had won it against Nadal in clay, and that would be like the ultimate praise, because in every other surface he looked unstoppable. Clay was just about the only surface when Nadal was holding on to him, but just about. I mean, that period of dominance from Djokovic again was so scary that he looked unstoppable, even on clay. Um, and yeah, he beat Nadal in some Masters titles, and eventually he won that French Open. But I mean, yeah, just like I said, I mean, he could come back anytime, even when you least expect it. To be honest, right now he's
yeah, I mean,
injured, but he'll be back, I'm sure.
yeah, absolutely. So do you reckon Rafa's got, is in the driving seat? He's in the driver's wheel to win this year's US Open?
You would think so. I mean, because the other half of the draw, right? It's wide open, and there's another Spaniard in there, Pablo Carreño, and he's good. But the thing is, I think whoever plays Rafa in a Grand Slam, you sort of have to go in with the mentality that you're gonna, because when Djokovic beat Rafa, he did have to go the long run, 4 or 5 sets, more often 5 sets. So that's the thing about Nadal. You have to go in with a mentality that you have to go in ready physically. And when you're far into this tournament, the matches start to add up to you and the fatigue. Uh, so we'll see. We'll see. I mean, then again, Del Potro could surprise us all, but I mean, he looked tired after both Dominic Thiem and Federer matches. And
Well, can
Nadal,
his
we know
body hold
Nadal.
up?
Hmm? Yeah, that's the thing.
Like,
Like Nadal,
yeah,
that's the thing. Nadal's bodies and Nadal's endurance is. I mean, who else has that? To be honest.
yeah. I mean, you're talking about, two kind of injury-prone players, but Del Potro. I mean, Rafa's certainly the favorite. Wouldn't surprise me though if Del Potro causes an upset. He's such a supreme talent on his day.
Exactly.
He,
The thing is, he has to be on his day to. If he hasn't been on his day for the past two matches against Thiem and Federer, but he's going to have to do it again, if not better, to not to stand a chance. He's going to have his chances, but to bring Rafa down, which is almost impossible to do because he never gives up. But I think, for me, whenever you play Rafa, you got to try and keep the rallies short. You have to hold your serve because even though Rafa has improved his serve, it's still not that dangerous. So as long as you hold your serve and keep the points short, you have a chance because Rafa hates nothing more than to like be under pressure on his serve. I guess like most players, right? But there are players who don't like. There are players can have who can be three break points right down, and they just pull out three aces out of nowhere. Rafa can't do that. So that's where you have to try and get him into those situations.
Yeah, I mean, with Rafa, like remember, like his serve has always been, probably his one flaw in his game. That's always been there, but like there was a period though at a US Open. It was some years ago though. He was serving fast, like
Hmm.
over 200 kilometers. It was actually in the US Open or something. He was serving bullets. And I'm not sure what exactly sparked that, whether it was a bit of a change in the serve style. I don't think he's quite gotten back to that, that speed necessarily.
He's always,
Um,
yeah, he's always been around 180, 190. Thing about his serve is the placement, right? That's what keeps him. Um, that's what keeps him hold of the serves more often than not. But I think when you're playing Del Potro and these sort of players who move well on the court, you need power sometimes, not just placement. Um,
but Del Potro's a big guy though, so that's probably something when Nadal can get in a bit of an advantage in. Maybe a slice or something. Just change
no,
it up a little
yeah,
bit to his backhand. Get him
I
low.
mean, no, I mean he's definitely got to do it, but I mean we cannot underestimate the Potro. He's a big guy, but he moves really well for a big guy. That running forehand, man. Um, it's the same as Nadal's running forehand on clay, except he does it on hard court. And I'm just as amazed because um, it's not that easy to slide on other surfaces. They make it look easy, but it's not easy at all. You know what I mean? Like, and the Potro does it on hard court, and he's been doing that a lot this tournament. So watch out for that because, especially, it's so weird how he pulls that forehand. It's not Rafa. The thing about Rafa's running forehand, right? He does it when a deep ball comes in, but the ball is high enough for him to do it. The thing about the Potro is he runs, but he pulls that forehand when the ball is on his knees. And what fascinates me about that shot is not really the power that he generates, because I think a lot of players could do that, but how can you hit that forehand and get it on the other side of the court when the ball is so low, especially for a big
Mm.
guy like yourself. Because I mean, when he hits that forehand, the racket is just about knee level, and it's a pretty flat forehand. It's not like he gets a lot of spin, but he manages to get it over the net and inside the other side of the court somehow.
Yeah, so some of these players, man, they have like, weird kind of not sort of weird, but like unique shot making, and yet they
They just
still
defy
pull it off
physics.
well. Yeah.
They just
Like
defy physics.
yeah, I mean, for instance, Dolgopolov, right? Someone Rafa beat in the US Open quite easily. Dolgopolov's quite unconventional when he's playing. He likes to pull the drop shots, and he's explosive when he wants to be. Like he's really got that forehand, backhand explosiveness. But Nadal kind of put a full stop to that. I mean, he was just so dominant, Rafa, against Dolgopolov in the US Open. And even to extent Tomic, like his forehand, that was a very weird type of forehand, but it works. Like, um, you know, like that off-pace forehand, and then he kind of slams it in. Um,
Some players, yeah, you just look at them and think, how did they pull that off? And for me,
mm,
praise Del Potro a lot because he's so tall and that forehand, man, he hits it when you least expect it. You know, you think you've won the point and the ball is coming really low to him, and he just he just out of nowhere pulls that off. A bit like Kyrgios, um, he does that too. The thing about Kyrgios is he doesn't have that consistency, but some players, yeah, like we're mentioning quite a few names here. They pull out shots when you least expect it, and you think just how did they pull that off? Um, so Del Potro, that's why you have to watch out for him. I think they're playing tonight or daytime over there. Um, I would call it in 4 sets because Del Potro might wear out after 2 tough battles previously, and Rafa hasn't been tested. To be fair,
Yeah, like his body is, a bit more fresh. I mean, and that's important, especially with, Del Potro. I mean, like those injuries, man, and having like a fit, raring, raging bull. The Spaniard that is Rafael Nadal. Um, what do they call him? Do they call him the Spanish bull?
they call him many things. I mean, that's one of them. But no, he's I mean, most Spaniards are like that. I mean, David Ferrer is another one.
Oh yeah, just super
I mean,
competitive. I mean, he's like, David Ferrer is like hitting a tennis ball against a brick wall. He just keeps on hitting back, and then sooner or later, the you kind of have to stop hitting against the brick wall and change it up a bit. But I mean that was Ferrer, like to me, like it's just like hitting against a brick wall, and nothing particularly outstanding from Ferrer. Like his movement was always at a high level, good forehand. Serve was not extraordinary by any means due to his
no,
height. Um,
no, it's a shame that he hasn't won one for me anyway. For most Spaniards, but he'll be remembered. Definitely, well, he'll have to be remembered because we've had a pretty good generation of players.
we've had a
Um,
fantastic generation. Yeah.
the Davis Cups, we kept on winning. I mean, and they're a
Hey,
part
not
of
not
that. So.
not just in the male side, man. In the female side, I know you're very keen on that Spanish woman. What's her
Muguruza.
name?
Muguruza.
Yeah. So she's
Mate, it's the
Italian,
first time
isn't
we
she?
have both number ones, uh, both in the men's and women's side that are Spanish ever,
Mm.
because they're both ranked number one right now.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a huge tick for Spanish tennis, and maybe we might
I
see
think it's
some really good future players coming out of Ruffers tennis academy. One of the things that had me thinking, Lewis, Uncle Tony. There's going to come a time, I think it's soon, where he's no longer with Nadal. So that's going to be a huge change, man, and he's going to be devoting some time to Ruffers academy there. I think in Mallorca or something. But you
yeah.
know, Uncle, when I think of Rafa, I think of Uncle Tony as well, man, because it's like coaches kind of quite often, but Uncle Tony with Rafa has kind of been there for everything, before it all started. So it's kind of hard imagining Rafa. I mean, he's got Carlos Moya um,
Yeah, no, I
as
was about to say like it will be a
yeah.
change, but perhaps not as big as it could have been. You know what I mean? Because he's just continuing with another great friend, another champion in Carlos Moya. So um, I don't know. I know we'll see what happens, but yeah, it will just be strange not to see, I guess, Uncle Tony there, right? But I'm quite confident that he'll be just fine because Carlos Moya has been a player. He's won. He's played against Nadal because they did meet up when Carlos Moya was sort of in his latter stages and Rafa coming up. we'll see. I don't think it's still confirmed what Uncle Tony is going to do. It's like it's in his plans, and it doesn't surprise me because that the academy has to, continue to grow, and that will be Rafa's future for sure once he retires. But we don't know when that will happen yet.
Yeah, just have to see. But like I've heard, like yeah, like Uncle Tony is going to leave the team, isn't he? Like he's not going to be like part of it in the months to come. Uh,
At some stage he won't be. I just don't know when.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, do you know what sparked that? Like, is it just because Uncle Tony has been there for so long that
No,
that
you pointed it out. I mean, someone has to be there at the academy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And also, well, Uncle Tony isn't getting any younger. And he's travelled the world quite a number of times. Uh, I think it's good that Carlos Moya takes over. I think it's exciting, to be honest. Um, Maybe bringing Carlos Moya had a good serve. If he could implement that into Rafa for his last few years of his career, I see, honestly. Again, Rafa has nothing to prove, so what's wrong with trying something new and exciting?
Yeah, I suppose that's another perspective you can look at. Um, and with Carlos Moya though, because he's already with the team. Like how much change can reasonably happen to Rafa's game? Like when you're talking about these players, these top players, like one of the greatest of all time, talking about tweaks, right? And there's always
Exactly, it wouldn't
tweaks.
be
Yeah.
exactly, it wouldn't be a lot. I mean, there was one year that Rafa came out and said, "Nah, my racket weighs a few grams less," and to the average spectator, he or she will probably be like, "Well, so what?" But
Mm.
but for top players, that might be a big change. So I think it will be, as you said, more tweaks than a lot of changes, but could work out for him. That makes him more successful than he already is, which is pretty hard. But I don't know. I just don't know again when Uncle Tony will leave. It's a rumor though, a realistic rumor, but we don't know when yet.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where, like, when you get at such a high level, like you can kind of coach yourself a little bit. Like, and I bet Nadal's been doing that for a while. Like, you know the ins and outs. You know how to recover your body. And no one knows your body like yourself. So,
Yeah, and
um,
you know your opponents because you constantly play against them, right?
yeah,
The challenges for experienced older players is these new young players coming through that they've never seen before, right? But the way they fight back against that is by using their experience. By Did they find out they're when you're an experienced player, you are sort of afraid of the young players, but at the same time, you use your experience to quickly find out their strengths and avoid them. So, for instance, Ruble, his forehand is ridiculous, right, for a 19-year-old, and Rafa constantly hit it to his backhand. That's just experience.
yeah, and it's experience to know what to do. It's experience to actually execute under
As
big
well.
time pressure where when the lights are on. That can startle a player like a 19-year-old, you know what I mean? And having that experience you're just going to get with games. And there was a time where I think Hewitt versed Nadal at the Australian Open at Rod Laver, and Hewitt got the better of Nadal, but then that quickly went away. Look at the player Nadal has become with how many Grand Slams is it? 15? Is it like,
15.
yeah. So I'll tell you what, man. Federer's stretched it out from 17 to 19. US Open goes the way of Rafa, goes to 16. Uh,
It
you
always
know,
comes up that the numbers, doesn't it?
oh look, I love it, man.
What
I
about
mean,
what about prize money? I think that's even. Let's just split that into.
Look. Yeah, but come on, like Federer. That's not taken into consideration though, like sponsorships and stuff.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's what I meant. Yeah, because
yeah,
Rafa makes up quite a bit there as well. But look, when you think about it, it's a year splitting them. You know what I mean? One of them has a good year, and they either stretch it out to 6 Grand Slams or tie it up. Um, Obviously, it's going to get harder and harder because these young players will sort of figure out how to play them, right? I think for these young players, the first time they play either Nadal or Federer, they're probably scared and they don't really know what to do. But the more they play each other, maybe these youngsters will find it. Dominic Thiem, he's um, he's kind of figured a way of playing against Nadal. The last few times they've played, they've been very close games. So it will definitely get harder for both Rafa and Federer to add more Grand Slams, but they just keep defying the odds to the point that they're still considered favorites. That's what's crazy about them too, right? I
yeah.
mean,
Well, just
the normal thing would be to say, oh well, they'll get worse and worse, and eventually they'll retire. But they keep defying the odds to the point that they're still considered favorites, and that's just not normal at all.
it's a testament to their just consistency, man. Like that's a hallmark of a great athlete. The not just the ability to be great 1 month, one tournament, ability to be great over a number of years, a decade, and
That's why it's so surprising.
yeah, they've just been able to stay relevant and not just relevant, actually compete with these young guys and get the best of them. I mean, look at someone like Kyrgios, man, has the talent, but like the attitude is, a little
Shocking.
off sometimes. Yeah.
That's
Um,
that's what I guess. I was gonna say like the pressure. That's why I think Nadal and Federer have no pressure for two reasons. Like they have nothing to prove, and even if they had to prove, the youngsters coming up, to be fair, have disappointed me a little bit. Kyrgios being one of them, Tomic. Uh,
sorry to
oh,
interrupt, but like Tomic, man, I mean that like he came out to the media as like kind of didn't he say something like he lost the motivation to like burnt out? So I don't know the exact words, but I mean,
it was either him or Kyrgios. It wouldn't surprise me. Um, but the list goes on and on, man. It's not just the Aussie players. Nishikori hasn't sort of broken through. You know what I mean? Um, Vabrinka took him a while. Eventually, did it. There are just so many names out there, of players that kind of sort of expected more of them. So that's even more of a reason why Nadal and Federer have nothing to prove because it's all down to the youngsters coming through. When will they eventually break this deadlock?
yeah, just with the deadlock though, like Federer, he just improved. Like it's crazy, man. Like he's in his mid 30s and he's just kind of like, well, the one tail sign though is the tournaments. Like you can't do what you did 10 years ago. You have to take time off to let the body recoup. And Federer's got that back injury,
No,
man. Like
but that's smart though. That's what I mean. Like, why do these players, sort of younger but on their prime players, don't do the same? I know they get paid to go to tournaments, right? Sponsorship deals, whatever. But sometimes you got to look at because it's honestly, um, tennis is all about grand slams. You know what I mean? You can win many other things, even Davis Cups, but it's all very harsh, and you either win Grand Slams or you're never really going to be remembered that much. That's just the way it is. It's very cruel, but it's all, they're sort of the legendary tournaments. It's the tournaments that have been there forever. It's the tournaments that sort of the legendary players have won. And so if you want to be considered a great yourself, you have to win those tournaments at the end of the day.
Absolutely, man. And let us know in the comments, guys. If you've watched this far into the video, who you reckon is going to win the US Open? I think Lewis and I think are leaning towards Nadal. Del Potro though has to be on his day, like has to be, because Ruff is such in good form. Be such an interesting matchup. See what happens. Let us know in the comments who you think will win. Like to thank Luis for another From Melbourne to Madrid show. Tell you what, man, the last few. I mean, this Google Hangout, although there've been like a few minor kind of dropouts, this Google Hangout was actually really good.
We haven't actually stopped it, so it will be uploaded in full, hopefully for everyone.
Yeah. I think it's just a bit of patience, isn't it? Sometimes when that dropout kind of comes, just knowing that, and then eventually knowing that you'll come back on. But generally speaking, like there wasn't much lag. We had, and then like I mentioned before the show, like ensuring that trying not to interrupt as much, and we've done a really good job of that as well. So I think that helps sometimes with just not as much lag as well, because the camera switches when there's audio. So I hope everyone enjoyed this From Melbourne to Madrid show. Any concluding note, Lewis, that you'd like to add?
On to the next one, really.
On to the next one. From Melbourne to Madrid to you.